So, a friend of mine mentioned this chomped man thing, and I'd been thinking about it for a minute or so, and I guess I finally put a video together. So, for those of y'all who don't know, chomped man is this thing on TikTok where it starts with this one Asian lady, I think, mentioning how she does not see very many attractive men, and when she sees an attractive man, it just makes her day. And to be honest with you, I'm not even going to knock her for that. It just kind of is fascinating how similar men and women are. Men, when we see attractive women, we enjoy it. Women, when they see it, they enjoy it. It's fascinating in some ways because they spend so much time besmirching, denigrating, and putting men down. It almost sounds somewhat alien when they then admit that they do enjoy, but I guess particularly a good-looking man. And even then, it creates a lookism hierarchy, which, we'll double back and discuss in a moment. We'll definitely discuss it in a moment, but it is kind of jarring. Like it's hilarious that, most people don't kind of point out so much time is spent from lots of women on the internet. And it isn't to say that there aren't women on the internet who attempt to say positive, obviously Pearl Davis, right? But, obviously, especially on TikTok, it's just a lot of denigrating and putting men down. It's just over the years in the cultural zeitgeist. So it's kind of strange that the whole chopped man thing starts with this commonality. That again, I'm not even going to, mock the Asian lady for feeling, elated when she sees someone attractive. But it comes off, the thing that is so strange, really, at least to me, well, maybe it isn't, maybe it's strange personally, not strange to everyone else. But I'm going to get you up to speed with two videos. I'm going to show you the actual video I'm referring to, and I'm going to show you another video that I saw Cometh bring up. Cometh. I'm going to play a little bit of Cometh's video because there's a point to be made there as well. So here's the Asian lady's chomped man video. So you guys understand that a chomped man is an ugly nigga. It's an ugly motherfucker. Just an unbecoming individual that you don't want to look at. It's just an ugly person. There it is. Ugly male. Here you go.
So as we're all very much aware, we are living through a chopped man epidemic, and there's a big shortage of baddies. It's gone so bad to the point that, if I see an attractive man, it genuinely makes my day. I was walking on the sidewalk earlier, and I saw a cute guy in his car, so I waved to him, and he smiled back at me. And obviously he drove away after that, but I was like, oh my god, a cute guy? This was at 6:50 p.m. It's 7:17, and I'm still like, oh my god. And I feel like this is going to power me through my evening. Wow, I actually saw an attractive man today. Diamond in the rough, needle in the haystack. Seriously.
And so now that you understand, and now that you have visual reference of the lady saying it, this will become slightly important as I now show you Cometh's video response. I'm going to play all of it, but I'm playing a good gist of it so you kind of grasp how he begins his response, right? It goes a little something like this.
I'm in the war on the side of the chop man epidemic girl. She's right. Right. Y'all are ugly. You don't put effort into your appearances. You don't have hobbies, and you expect women to want you. And you're gonna screenshot pictures of me and her while she's talking in an effort to make her feel ugly, when in reality, you would cry of happiness if me or her or any of the women in her comments section touched you with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because you're a virgin. And let me make one thing clear. I'm not saying this applies to every single person who might disagree that there's a chop man epidemic. All I'm saying is, men didn't used to have to put that much effort into having an actual personality because they had a bank account. And until the 1980s, women couldn't own those. We couldn't even own our own businesses until the 90s.
Now, me personally, I think that it is a little bit of a waste of time to talk about how these women who complain about chomped men are, kind of dweeby, unbecoming, weak, recessed chin, ugly kind of ladies themselves. The point that most people would make, and I think this is the level one take, no offense, but I think this is the level one take, is that all the women complaining about chomped men are chomped to themselves. It's more like a lamentation of what you are and what you look like. But I personally think that that's a waste of time for two reasons. One, those ladies, they're still women. So they're still going to be able to be with men, and they're not going to feel the effects of true forced loneliness. Most average women, they'll never feel it. Shoot, you even have deformed women that still have options, right? It's just, being a female, you're only alone of your own making. You can never truly experience true forced loneliness. As a male, on the other hand, you can be average and be forced to be alone in our modern era, which kind of says a lot in and of itself. Regardless of such, to me, it's just like, with that reality, they're never really going to feel the effect of being alone. They're never going to feel the effect of being disregarded. But to be fair, they do feel the low self-esteem and the disrespect of being an ugly woman. Like, women are very vain. Obviously not all of them, but many of them are indeed vain, and they do care considerably about the way they look, and they hyperfixate on the way they look to crippling degrees. And to me, I don't need to add to that. They're miserable in themselves. I don't need to do nothing about that. So that's level 1. I guess level 1.5 is because here's the thing. Saying that they're chomped themselves, not a good response make to me, because again, the actual effects, they'll never actually feel the effects of it, and it doesn't change anything, because I think that the heart wants what it wants, and that was my second point. I mean, it's like, being an ugly person doesn't mean that you're going to be attracted to ugly people in turn. If you ask me, I think humans put, or at least contemporarily, humans put a huge stock on physical attraction, on pleasure, on beauty, on comfort, on feeling good, on just being instantly, inundated with dopamine and good feelings from looking upon someone's visage. If you were to ask me, I think it's a recipe for disaster that we care so damn much about the way people look. People, even with me, and my people cry all about my beard. I don't give a damn. First of all, I see myself more often than most people do. Well, maybe not really, but like, obviously with the YouTube videos, I watch the videos back. I don't care. I clearly don't care. And honestly, me like trimming it and me doing this is all for you. I don't give a fuck. You have to understand that most of my time on Earth is me looking at other things. I can't see myself without the video camera, without a mirror, without a regular camera on myself. I can't see myself. So I'm not super concerned with how I look. I'm concerned with everything else in the world, because that's what I can see and that's what I interact with. The predilection, the focus on the visage of the self and being vain. Obviously, there's a concern to be had with the way you'll be treated. Obviously, there's a concern with your presentation. Obviously, all of that regular. I understand you don't want to be sloven, unbecoming, unpresentable. That's normal. That's the reasonable level of making sure you don't look poor, you don't look too bad, right? You don't look, disgraceful, so to speak. But this overfixation to the point where you pigeonhole your attraction to the top, to the king, to Arthur, right? To Thor. You know what I'm saying? Only he be worthy can touch my wop. The way that very many ladies are operating on TikTok now is absurd. And that's what I'm really commentating on. Like, it is an absurd level. And I think that that's when we get to level 2. That, sure, the heart wants what it wants. Fair enough. But there is something to be said about this idea that so many people are just unworthy, or that lots of males cast a wide net. And to be honest with you, to what extent of that is natural, and to what extent of that is desperation, to what extent of that is opportunism, those are interesting questions. It could be, honestly, the male's wide net of opportunism is predicated on females' pigeonholing of what they decide is attractive in males. It could be one follows the other in this loop. Who knows? I don't know. It'd be an interesting analysis in and of itself. The fact remains that the disregard of just so many males as viable partners because they're not handsome, they're not attractive, really kind of shows the overvaluing of beauty, right? The overvaluing. What becomes ridiculous is that it's an overvaluing in an area that men are just hilariously lacking in. Of course, it would be remiss to ignore makeup, waist trainers, high heels, form-fitting clothing, it's remiss to, I mean, we can just talk about the vast majority of plastic surgeries done for young ladies. It would be remiss to not bring up and highlight the fact that very many women have very many different ways to look physically attractive, if not at least temporarily. The bar to being thought of as beautiful for women is also lower. You have it's this inflation, this male inflation of beauty is insane, while women have been deflated in what is considered attractive and acceptable, not just with body positivity, not just with curvy women. Thick women have always been attractive to African American males, Latino males. They've always been, right. Women were never losing in that regard. That includes white women. White women were never losing in being found attractive to black males. Never, and I think white women in particular. I say all this to say there's such a wide range of being attractive as a woman that honestly, to see women complain about chomped men almost seems it kind of seems like punching down. If I may take a moment, lots of you can say whatever you want to say, but you can't say I'm wrong. Let me just take a moment. You can call this immature, but I think it's important to highlight this. Isn't that just mean? Like, isn't this whole chomped man thing just childishly just mean? It's just mean. And it's just unbecoming and just mean to be like, you guys just are all ugly. It's so childish. It's how children act. Children are just like, you're ugly. Children, and the thing about children, even though they might have a disgust, they don't have the wisdom and wherewithal. They don't have the idiom, you don't judge a book by its cover. They don't have the wisdom. We teach them that wisdom. We teach them, you have to be more polite and more understanding to people in their circumstance. At least you're supposed to teach them that. Getting to this point where you're just cruel, it kind of comes off. And I think I say everything I say to get to this point where it's just so mean and unbecoming, because it's just not fair. And I get it. Life's not fair. Maybe it isn't, but that kind of says a lot in itself too. Life's not fair. So why are these women adding to how life not being fair? Why would they add to the misery? Why do they make things harder than it needs to be? Not just, again, because they're not tour de forces of beauty. They're not supermodels. They're not the greatest looking lady ever. Not just that, but it's like, why do you need to put them down too? Like, what even is your accomplishment? What is even your hope? To be fair, it's probably quick dosages of validation, make themselves feel better because they're above these chomped men. But it's childish. It's weak-minded. It's unbecoming, again. To be honest with you, I kind of feel more bad for them than all of the different chomped men, which maybe I just kind of feel bad for everyone in general, but it's just like, nobody wins here. Nobody wins here. And I don't even understand what they expect to happen. What you call men chomped, and they'll just be like, well, now I'm going to work harder to be more attractive. That's actually not what's happening in the world. What's happening in the world is that most average people are just going down, 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 down as they become dour, and they just feel like there's just no incentive to try, while the belief structure of what is an attractive person becomes more and more inflated. Like, for example, physique inflation. There's a couple of different videos on YouTube in the fitness industry sphere that I think are kind of mission critical. In my personal opinion, I'm not a part of the fitness sphere YouTube, but I've watched these videos for very many years. I think it's mission critical to kind of highlight this. And this is extremely important because fitness is like one of the only ways, really, and that kind of says everything here, by the way. Fitness is one of the only ways males really can take their attraction into their own hands. And even then it's becoming aesthetic. And even then it's far more involved than the way lots of women have the option and availability to be attractive. So again, it's like, men have one aesthetic form, really, for the most part, that is visually appealing to women. Obviously, and even then, the dad bod is just a muscular body that just has fat on it. So it's not really, most women pretend that there's like a deviation, but I see through the lies of the Jedi. I am not as foolish as the rest of the world is. Like a dad bod, that most dad bods that women describe, they're just men who used to exercise, who don't anymore, and they just have a fat on them. They're still strong looking males. And maybe I have an eye to see it because I understand strength is far more complex than a lean aesthetic build, but again, the importance that I'm making here is that, like, it's still the same thing. If the dad bod just were to just cut and just lean out, he would just be a V taper having dude. It's the same thing. I guarantee you, like, legitimately, you're gonna see it. Now that I said it, you're gonna see it, right? So it's like, there's only really one way for the most part. Obviously, you've got your skinny scene kids, but that's an exception. You have you have those white kids with the long hair, and they skateboard and all that goofy stuff, and they smoke weed. They got that shaggy aesthetic. I mean, yeah, those niggas exist, right? Like, sure, fair enough. But those are the exceptions, right? And exceptions, not rules, make. And, sure, they're there, and it's not impossible to bring them up, but they're just not going to have the same degree of success or a wider net of success of, like, finding different types of women to date than a lean aesthetic dude would be. And because of the physique inflation, which is to say, very many people believe not just the steroid having dudes or the fake natty dudes or the Hollywood star dude. A lot of women, like, for example, a great example of this is some woman, not even just talking about sebum, but even like there was one woman, this was so funny to me, it takes me out, where she posted a picture of Henry Cavill in Man of Steel. And she's like, dude, guys, this is all we want, right? We just want a little bit of muscle with some fat on it. And then some nigga says, that's literally Superman. I'm like, it's like, it's like, it's him. It just takes, it's like, and in her mind, she's like, that's all, we just want Superman. She said the thing. She said the thing with sincerity. She said the thing. I just can't, bro. Obviously, Henry Cavill isn't literally Superman, but it's like they literally want they want the nigga who reflects Superman. It's crazy. And so it's like, when that's the standard, well damn yeah, hell yeah, most niggas are chopped. If the inflation of being a handsome male is Henry Cavill, I mean, what? What are we supposed to do? We're cooked. We're cooked. It's over. This is where incels come from. It's over. If we're supposed to look like Henry Cavill, you know what? Just stick a fork in me, bro. We're gone. It's over, right? It's sincerely just not fair, I think. Again, when you factor in all the different ways to be attractive and I think a lot of women, there's a difference between how they feel versus what is reality. And how a lot of women feel. I've encountered, for example, there's this one lady I used to be engaged with, and I'm going to find an example of what she looks like. There's a couple of ladies. Well, the black lady I talked to, she was pretty confident, so she doesn't really count. But there's this one lady. She was a white lady. She was a fat ass white girl. I'll just say it like that. And she was, and I'll show you a picture somewhere here. This isn't her, but it's an example of like what she looks like. And she was insecure, annoyingly so. It pissed me off. I'm gonna be dead ass with you. It annoyed the shit out of me, how insecure that woman was. But the fact remains, right, that even when the woman is just objectively attractive, it's all in her head that she doesn't feel that way. But how she feels doesn't translate into reality, because then you have the opposite spectrum, where you have women who are clearly sloven, who are clearly, average looking or just ugly, right? It's just how it is. Some people are ugly. Here's the thing. I don't think that being ugly, it should be a value judgment. Is it the reality that you're unbecoming to look at? For some people, certainly. But I don't think that you should be disbarred from being loved and cared for if you're ugly. I don't believe that. But these women do. And that's really what this is. This is the core of all of this, right? And this is how we kind of get to what is so fascinating to me about this whole chopped man thing. It's just how we've come full circle in our culture, right? I made a video very many years ago. It's called Incels Were Right. And now on TikTok, women, they just splurt all out their nonsense like it's their bloody diary, where they just confirm Yeah, incels were right. They were right about most men being cooked. They were right about the physique inflation or the handsome inflation of being males. And they didn't really put it this way, but this is how I'm articulating it at the moment. They were correct about all of this stuff, you know what I mean? And sure, I'm not a genetic determinist, and I'm not depressed, nor am I a nihilist, but the fact remains that there is a premium and a high valuing, an overvaluing of people's physical attraction, particularly from very many women. They overvalue male attraction. Why? Because they don't view most males as attractive. They have deselected huge swaths of the population. This would include females who are, well, chopped themselves. Now, again, I'm not saying this as like you don't have a point to be made because you're also an ugly female. I think being an ugly woman should not disbar you from being loved and cared for. Much in the same way, I don't think that should be the case for being a male. However, it would appear that the way our culture believes one to be cared for is, well, you have to be nice to look at, and then I'll give a fuck about you. I didn't make the rules. I didn't say that shit. The women who made the chopped man videos, they're the ones who are implying this. They're the ones who may damn near just commit to the reality that, yeah, if you're not attractive, I don't give a damn. That's not my belief structure. That's theirs. At the very least, that's what their actions are reflecting. And to be honest with you, it's just cruel. It's just not fair. I don't think it's a reasonable way to operate in the world. And I think that, again, with the way that very many women can manipulate their physical attraction, albeit temporarily, although BBLs are more permanent. So like if you get a snatched weight, even physical exercise, again, is mostly more permanent relatively because often you have to maintain, but you get my point. But more static, right? Or more consistent, rather, right? Than just putting on makeup and the waist trainer and whatnot. But the fact remains that there's just more ways to be an attractive woman. And so obviously, like if you're wearing makeup and you're getting compliments, well, of course you're going to feel on top of the world. You're going to feel more elevated or higher up. You have all these options as a woman because very many males are, again, they're deselected. So many of them keep on trying to come to you because they don't have very many options. They can't be in relationships, right? I understand how I understand how the cycle forms. I understand how we get here. The concern that I have is rather than playing tit for tat, we should kind of address what is actually being said here. And most people don't want to commit to the reality that there is a true belief structure. There's a true mechanism, which is to say that love, care, and affection, and at this point, human regard, really, is not for people who are not sexually attractive. Your ability to be sexually attractive is the most important thing, particularly from women, that they have spilled out onto young men. They put young men into a game they've never played before. And instead of having mercy and compassion because they understand that this shit sucks dick, instead they decide, screw it, we'll just do the same thing. Even though I hate it, even though I don't like my beauty standards, even though I hate myself, even though I hate the way that I look, even though I have body dysmorphia, even though I go to this body positivity thing, even though I blah, 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 even though they have such misery about the way they look, they have no compassion. And that's really what the heart of this, to me, this is what really needs to be the highlighted here. That they understand the pain and the misery of this over-exaggeration of the way they looked. And instead of having mercy, instead of having care, instead of having, dare I would say, love for the other half of the fucking human species, they disregard them. To me, that's far more important than whether or not these women are chopped as well. That's far more of a problem than whether or not these women are pretty or not pretty, or whether these women are projecting or not projecting. I don't give a damn. The heart wants what it wants. People want to be with visually appealing and visually attractive people, or whatever fancies them to some degree. I understand that. And should you find that you can't be with that person, you'll feel like you settled. You're a bitch, by the way. If you believe you're a bitch, if you think that you settle for someone that loves and cares about you and is consistent, you're a bitch. Just by the way, male, female, you're a bitch. Fuck you. That aside, right? The issue truly is that there is no compassion in this regard. Both ways. Now, to be fair, I mean, males being disregarded is just so much in our current culture. I understand how they get to a point of no regard. Women, on the other hand, they've also been social conditioned due to feminism to give no regard to males. And ultimately, it's just this big cycle. And I think that, listen, bro, you made it to the end of this video. You've got a choice to break this cycle and to stop this dumb shit. And honestly, when it comes to this whole chopped man thing, I think it's important to, one, recognize physique inflation. Again, there are more videos who cover the topic far more complexly than me or with far more examples than me. But one, we have to discuss physique inflation, and we have to discuss the options, or just I want to call it experience. Is a word I want to use. But we have to kind of discuss how women's physical beauty, their cosmetic ability is far superior than what males can do. It's not a fair comparison from young ladies. And also, again, it's a total disregard of all the things that males are really good at, really. And so the only thing, for the most part, obviously, when you need a haircut, the shit grows, you have to keep cutting it again and again and again, right? But so it's not a permanent fixture if you get a haircut, stupid. And if you don't have the bone structure, if you don't have the face, if your eyes are droopy, if you got a big nose, like if you have the bone structure, nigga, don't hit me up with this haircut nonsense for these young men. You know what I'm saying? If they're all like hunched over like a goddamn hunchback, a motherfucking Notre Dame, you know what I'm saying? No snippy is gonna help that, you know what I'm saying? But you have to commit to the reality that you believe hunchback ass nigga can't be loved. And maybe that's the case. That is certainly how people treat this whole chopped man thing. This is how people are treating young men. I do find it very interesting that the group of people who have been disregarded or feel these beauty standards to such a degree have no compassion for all these different men who feel the same way. It's such a sad state of affairs to me. And if you were to ask me, which, I mean, you clicked on the video, so to some degree you did, that's far more of a pressing problem than whether or not these women themselves are ugly or not ugly. I don't give a damn if these women are ugly or not ugly, if these women are looks matched or whatever, right? The concern is the physique inflation, and let's just be real, a total lack of kindness and just disregard for everything else that makes a human. And to be quite honest with you, feminists and women, they were right to be upset about this shit. But where they're wrong at is the fact that they only cared about women having no beauty standard, even though they still maintain it, but not giving a single solitary fuck about the other half of the entire human civilization that they applied the same, be quite honest with you, ironically, far more narrow beauty standard upon. It's absurd. It's not fair. It's ridiculous. And to wrap us up finally, it's just a complete lack of compassion. And it's just nasty. And it's childish. I'm going to be dead. I'm just going to say, I'm going to be a moral F word about it. Because we can't say that word no more. We can call children niggers, but we can't say fat. See, I almost did it. I'm going to wrap us up with, it's just cruel. Ultimately, I'm going to wrap up the video with this. Listen, it really, really, really does suck that we have to deal with this. But ultimately, the world is only really going to start becoming a better place if we make the choice to break this cycle and to really think critically about this stuff and take control of the things that we can take control of. There's a lot of genetic determinism, biological determinism, social. There's a lot of determinism people give way to and they relinquish their power to because things feel so oppressive or overwhelming. But to be honest with you, it's not. And I think the first step is this critical analysis that we are implying from both males and females that, listen, if you don't tickle my fancy, I can't love you. And that needs to be addressed with seriousness. It really needs to be addressed with sincerity, that there is a strong implication in society that very many people act this way. Even if they don't say it, even if they don't commit to it as a belief structure, this is their behavior. Which is to say, I cannot and will not love you if you're not attractive. I will not give you consideration as a human being if you're not attractive. If you don't pleasure me, because that's all that shit really says, you don't give a fuck about a person being attractive because you think it makes their life better. You give a fuck about someone being attractive because it makes your life better. It makes you feel good. It validates you. You don't give a damn about the other person. And that in and of itself is an important thing to consider. Fact remains, bruv, like, we do have a social structure like that. And very many people don't want to sit down and recognize this is what we're doing and this is what we're implying. And to be honest with you, it is not making a better world. So honestly, this whole chopped man thing, it's just mean. So with that being said, I just hope you guys got something out of today's video. And if you did, I don't know, man, go and click the like button. Shoot, go and click the subscribe button. Come in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I will see you cool cats soon.